Today, I want to talk about something that a lot of us may be feeling, not all of us, but a lot of us, and that's this question of why do I feel busier in this season where I'm supposed to have more time, where I'm supposed to be reconnecting with family or doing that project that I've been putting off for so long? It's a good question because we do have this idea that shelter in place means you are stuck at home, and so you have all this extra free time to be able to do the things that you've been putting off for so long. And yet, you're finding I feel way busier and don't have time for nearly as much. I might even feel busier than when I was spending more time in the car going to and from work or school or whatever that may be. It makes a whole lot of sense to feel that way and to wonder if you're weird or strange as you see other people, maybe on social media or something like that, just enjoying free time, going on walks more. But actually, what you're feeling is quite normal, and it has to do with how your brain processes information. So, think about the first time you did anything new for the first time. So I'm going to go with the example of driving a car because that's one that most people can relate to. The first time you drove a car, you were probably on high alert, right? You might have been gripping the steering wheel a little bit more tightly. You didn't have that sense for how much you should put the gas pedal, which resulted in a lot of these things in the middle of trying to learn how to drive. You might have been hyper aware, which mirror am I supposed to look at right now? But if I'm looking at the mirrors, I'm not looking at the road. Your thoughts would be right alongside all of those, just thinking through a lot of things. You might have had a mental checklist of, okay, first get in the car, then put on the seatbelt, then check your mirrors, then make sure your car is in park, then, and so on and so forth. And you'd have to go through that checklist every time to make sure you're doing things the right way. It was new to you. You were learning for the first time and figuring all of that out. And so you had to have this extra present mental capacity to be able to do it effectively because you'd never done it before. I know probably some of you are like, well, I wasn't that, strict about it. But for those of you, think about anytime you've tried something new, what it was like the first time you've done it, and then fast forward to what it's like now. 5, 10, 30, 40 years later of driving a car, chances are you probably don't run through that mental checklist every time because you do it so much that it becomes familiar. It's like a pattern. Your brain worked so hard in the beginning to figure out, what am I doing? How do I move my body in a certain way to be able to drive this vehicle? And then once your brain learns that, it feels like it can ease up on the restrictions and feel like, okay, I can do this almost automatically. So much so that, someone might ask you, okay, what are the steps to driving a car? And you kind of have to think about it a little bit harder. To say, well, how would I tell someone what the steps are? I don't know, I just do it, right? The same goes for life. You create patterns in your life. You know when you wake up on a certain day, okay, this is generally what my day looks like. Even those of you that have variable schedules, you have a general sense of understanding, okay, I would look at my schedule for that day to figure out what's going on. But you have a pattern of, well, I'd go and, get some coffee or start eating a little bit of breakfast and then get in my car and do this. And even within that pattern, there's flexibility, but there is a base pattern. You understand what you have to do for that day or that week or that month. And with this, most of us, as far as I know, have never been in a shelter-in-place order, have never had to completely readjust routines. Really, just all of a sudden it feels like, even though the pandemic has been going on for a while, the idea that I'm not going to have the same freedoms I used to have to do things like go to work or interact with people or go to school, depending on where you are in your season of life, it's a new thing, and it kind of happened all of a sudden. We didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare for it. It's, hey, we're instituting this ordinance for our city or our county or our state, and it starts in 48 hours, and be prepared to follow it, right? It's a good thing. It's meant for our protection, but it throws schedule and routine and any sort of pattern out the window. So your brain is actually working harder in this season to try to reconstruct a pattern, to try to figure out who, what, when, where am I supposed to be in this situation. And as you do that work, it actually makes you feel busier. Maybe you're learning how to use interfacing technology for the first time. Maybe you have had a certain way of doing things with people in person that you have to figure out, what does this look like to be able to do over the airwaves or over the internet. So I want you to ultimately just give yourselves grace in this season. Your brains are working harder. Maybe you're thinking, like, I haven't had to do 6th grade math in decades, and now I have to help my 6th grader do 6th grade math. And so it's extra work for you, and you're, trying to figure out not only how to do that for someone else if you're a parent and have school-age children, but even for yourself. What does working from home look like? Maybe you've always worked from home, but you're getting used to the pattern of, I can't go to my favorite coffee shop and sit there for a few hours. I have to figure out what it looks like to strictly be at home. Grocery shopping, I can't do that regularly, or I'm on alert for sanitizing the grocery cart and sanitizing my groceries when I get home, or things like that. So no matter where you are in life, whether you are used to being home most of the time or are used to rarely being home, it's a shift and it's a change, and it requires a little bit more brain space to do that. So if you feel busier, it's okay. You are completely normal. It won't feel this busy and this overwhelming and this stressful for very long. You will create your own patterns as you learn to figure out what staying at home means for you. And as you create those patterns, your brain will start to kind of relax a little bit and feel a little less unsettled, and feel a little like maybe you just recognize, like, I'm more forgetful these days. You are using a lot of brain power, and so it will get better as we get used to what all of that looks like. But I wanted to provide a little bit of understanding and hope in the process. So in a week or two, all of this will feel a lot less demanding for you and for me. Until next week, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Bye.